Hi everybody, Michael here from BizBudge again. This is the second in a series of videos going through budgeting tools, how to create a budget using different types of tools. In the first video we went through how to create a very simple budget. This is it here in the form of a profit and loss statement where we've just entered values against a description with time period across the top, and that's calculated out a net profit or loss for us and a chart. Today we're going to extend on this and we're going to make it a little bit more advanced so that before we were only adding a value into each row. So for each item that only had one value in there. So for things like cars we were adding fuel in and then insurance on top of that as an example. Where what we're going to do now is put a bit more detail and some driver-based planning or calculations in our workbook as well now. So what we're going to do is move on and show that part of it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to remove, well, let's tidy that up. Let's make that a bit, we're going to make it a bit nicer as we go along. So you kind of get to see the whole experience here. Isn't it going to be great? So we're going to remove all the values. We're just going to delete all of our values out of there that we've just typed in directly. And we're going to rename our sheet Profit and Loss, because that's going to be our profit and loss statement. And this is going to become more of a report that we can format and print out, and it's going to be calculated based on additional sheets. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new sheet. So we're going to copy this existing sheet, move it to the end, and then we're going to rename this. We're going to make this the sales sheet. So if we rename this sales, what you'll see now is we've got two sheets that are exactly the same. Now again, this is just one way of doing this. There are many different ways. We're only going to build on what we've got as an example of how you would move from the existing format we have where we're just quickly typing numbers in to one that's a bit more, has a bit more detail in it. So in this one here, we're going to remove a lot of this information that we don't need. So we don't need all of these columns here. So I'll delete the whole column. By deleting the whole column, we remove all the formulas. We're also going to remove our chart. So if we click on that and then delete that, and that out here too, we're not going to need that in here. We can leave that in here, but we're going to take that out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the title now sales. So we know that this is, and we'll make it a little bit more fancy, make this particularly just about sales. And we're going to add a new column in. Now you could add it in here, but for the sake of keeping it the same as the report, we're going to put units as a column here. We're going to delete the word sales out of there. And what we're going to do now is actually add in, again, as I said, more of that detail. So for example, imagine if we were a shop selling, say for example, fish. What we're going to do, rather than just putting sales in and trying to guess everything, we're going to list out the types of things we sell. And again, this can be a household, it can be the number of different wages or wherever else you get income from, or whatever the item is that we're particularly we have this sheet set up for. So for example, with the sales, we're going to list out the things we sell. Say we're a fish shop, we're going to sell small fish, and I don't mean cooked fish, I mean real life fish. So small fish, medium fish, and I've left a line in between those. You'll see why in a second. And large fish. And then we might have, say, the fish tanks. This is just, again, a very basic example of what we want to create here. Then we're going to put in, what we want to put here is, we actually want to put in the dollar value here. So this will be calculated. So we copy that down. So we're going to have a second column for each one, just to make that stand out a bit more. We might format that all so it sits nicely to the right there, and then we can probably change that color in a second. But what we want to do now is we actually want to put in the unit cost or value for the income items here in this left-hand side column, and then we want to put in the number of units we're going to sell here across the top, and then the total dollar value of that is a calculation. So again, what we want to do here is this dollar value is going to equal, we're going to put a sum in, this unit multiplied by this month. Okay, so again, we need to change that formula by adding in the dollar signs so that it doesn't move. That sticks to the unit value in that cell there, but then the rest of it's dynamic and it moves across the months as we drag that across. So what we're going to calculate here now, and we're going to do the same for the other one, so that's going to equal the unit value here multiplied by what the medium fish number of units is. So again, we can pop in the dollar signs to keep that nice. Now, if we copy this one here, it will actually paste nicely in there, and that'll be, we can have a look there and see that that's going to be the medium fish. So we change it to the large fish, and then the fish tanks, we want to change that to the fish tanks. Okay, that's right, isn't it? No, 10. Okay, so we want to change it to the right cells. So then essentially what we're going to be doing is creating, when we drag these across, we're going to be making each item particular. Now also we want to add our sums in there as well. So sum that all the way down. And then what we need to have at the bottom here, once you've finished all of this, we want to have a total line in there. So the total line is going to equal all of our dollar values. So if we keep adding in, by using the plus sign in the formula, each of those items, each of those rows, we can then get a total value. And if we drag this down here, we're also going to get our total down the bottom. We'll remove that last one. So now what we've kind of done is we've created another sheet that's going to drive our profit and loss. Now, again, we haven't put anything in here yet, but for the profit and loss, we want to use this total line in here now instead of what we typed in before. So as an example, this sales is now going to equal the total from our sales sheet. So we hit enter on that and we drag that all the way across again. Again, it makes it nice and easy. That's why Excel's a favoured tool. We'll bold that up, I think, and then we'll also bold this one here as well. I've just selected all of them together. And that didn't bold because I already had a bold. There we go, bold all those up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to colour these differently just so we know that this is a calculation. All the dollar ones are going to be calculation values. And we're going to make all of our columns here where we actually type values in, they're going to be inputs. So we're going to make that an input. Isn't this great? And then our units here, just so we can see that that's an input as well. And let's make that nicely merged. Okay, so now we've got a cool little sheet here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, so what we want to put in here is the dollar value, the unit value of our small fish. So this would be for an income related entry. This will be what revenue this produces. So say small fish, we get $2. Sorry, we're selling, this should be the value, not volume. Easy to make mistakes, isn't it? So we want to say our small fish are worth $2 each. Okay, medium fish are $3, large fish $4, and the fish tanks are $50. Okay, so that's, or whatever unit, currency unit. Now remember, they're in the cells that we've used in our formula. So then say in each month we want to put the volume of each of these that we're selling. So say we typically sell 100 units. What you'll see now is that it's calculated 100 small fish per month at $2 a unit gives us $200. And again, this is plonked now into our profit and loss statement. So it's populating from this sheet. That's not too bad, is it? So let's say we average 100 per month. We can just drag that all the way across, and then we can make adjustments. Again, for busier time periods or quieter time periods, you can make changes in there to reflect that. And this might be something that's very much more particular to you. So we're actually creating that total down the bottom here based on what are real driver-based values, so things that are very particular. And again, this probably suited more to business, but this allows you to then say, okay, well, say the value of fish. The cool thing about this is you can adjust all of these parameters or inputs. So say the value of the fish, say when things go up, prices go up, we need to increase the price of our fish, so we raise it to $2.20. Once we pop that in there, what you can see is all of our dollar values are now recreated based on the same number of units. And in the same way, if sales dive and we think, oh, we're really going to estimate what we're getting in, we can change that. Now we can add in our medium fish. How many? We probably sell 80 of those a month. So we're building up our different items. Our large fish, we only sell 50 of those. So we drag that across again, and we sell about 20 fish tanks a month. So what we've done here is very quickly built up a story. I'm going to format these so they're nice again, nice dollary values. What we're doing is building the story of how our dollars or financial values and where they come from, what they are and where they come from, which is really much more accurate because you can then determine based on the types of things you're selling or the expenses that you've got. The same thing suits expenses. You're getting a much more detailed picture. And when we go back to the profit and loss, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? Instead of actually having to type a value in there as a lump sum, which may not make as much sense, we are actually getting a lot more detail in here. Now, the good thing about this is you are getting the detail, and the bad thing is you have to maintain that detail. So you don't want to go to extreme levels. You want to make it as practical as possible so you still maintain it. But again, this gives you the flexibility to change either the value of each unit that you're selling or the volume so that you can quickly see how that changes your bottom line. Okay, so now the same thing can be done if we wanted to do this. Now that was an example of an income item. Say we want to do this for an expense item. We can just copy this sheet. This is the good thing again about Excel. We can copy this sheet, move it to the end, and we'll rename that as cars. Okay, so this one here, now we'll change our name up the top there to cars. We want to clear all of these values out. Okay, because again, this might not actually be the same. We might not be calculating things exactly the same. So let's delete all of those. Now we actually want to insert lines again here. Just did that the wrong way around, didn't I? Okay, insert, insert, insert. You can do Control Y, that'll insert things the same again. It'll repeat your previous action. So now this is going to be cars. So for cars, we want to put fuel in there, and then we want to put, say, insurance. Now again, I've left a line here. Now this reference line means because we deleted a lot of our formulas, it's not relevant, so we'll remove that. But what we can do here is, now this is going to be slightly different. We're going to create a combination here. This can be the dollars again, so that we're going to get the value of our calculations based on the fuel. Say we can put the price of fuel in here, say it's $1.20 a litre. You know, we can then make this our input. Sorry, that last one's not an input. We can make this our input. And make this, oh, that's not our input. I've just done it around the wrong way again. Make this our calculation. Oh, everyone's fallible, aren't they? And then this one here is actually our input. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to say, okay, this is going to equal our dollars, but it's also going to just equal our insurance line. So when we drag this across, again, we want to put our totals in the side there, make that nice and neat. What we're actually going to do here is create a combination of ways of entering values. So for example, with fuel, we can say, okay, we go through about 80 litres of fuel a week. Now this dollar value is going to equal our value here multiplied by our volume. So again, we need to fix that first cell so we can drag it across. Excuse me. And then each month, again, we could just drag our values across, but some months we might travel a bit more, and other months we might travel a bit less. So again, we're building our story here based on actual values. Now, what if the price of fuel goes up? Well, hey, look at that. You can change it and see immediately not only the impact on this line, but have a look back at our profit and loss too. Oh, we didn't put that in there yet. So if this equals the total from our cars and we drag that across, this is straight away impacting the value of our car expense item and our chart. So you can see we're kind of building a picture. Now, insurance might just be values in a month. In the previous example, we added that into our fuel. But here we can clearly see where things are hitting. And you're not going to pay insurance twice, but you might have, you know, registration as a cost. You might have insurance. So you can add all of these things in here. Maintenance. You can add your detail in, and then by adding that into our total, so now this is also going to equal that plus that plus that. So what we can do now is add all of this great detail. So we're putting registration, okay, registrations here, you know, nice and cheap registration. We did insurance. What did we do that again for? That's unusual. Put our servicing in there. Okay, and then as we go back to our P&L, we're going to see that total line here. That's all we're going to see. But if we want to look at the detail, we go back to that cars. Now this applies for any type of those expense, revenue and expense items. So you can essentially create your own sheet with your own calculations in it, which is quite a cool little change. So I hope you enjoyed this extension to what we did in the previous one. Again, we're going to move on to some more advanced ones in the next video. So I hope you stay watching.